Hello, people. Welcome back to another video by your good friend Chad Marco, the big Anaki. Make sure you guys smash the like button and let's talk, man. So, I've been kind of thinking about female virginity lately. And specifically, one, would it be better for me to prioritize that trait in any potential girl that might be with in the future? And what is it about women being virgins that makes that more attractive to men? But let's tackle the first part first. And the reason why I started thinking about this is because you guys know I've never been the type of guy that was like, I have to be with a girl who's also a virgin just because I'm an adult virgin. And I talked about this a little bit in the Ideal Girlfriend video, where I basically expressed that, like, my view on this subject has always been, I don't expect a girl to be a virgin, but I do care about like her overall attitude and approach to dealing with sex. Basically meaning that, she doesn't have to be a virgin, but I would like her to, not be the kind of girl that is sleeping around, is a slut, is sleeping with like thugs and gangbangers, and doesn't take precaution when it comes to protecting her body from STDs and things like that. Like, that's kind of how I always looked at it. I've always been somewhere in the middle on this. But what kind of got me thinking about whether or not I should actually start considering looking specifically for a virgin, it actually happened a while back. And I'm sure you guys remember when I was on the Melly Monaco show, and we were talking about me being a 30-year-old virgin. And, they were kind of making fun of me about that. And in the comments, I was just getting roasted. But there was one comment that really stood out to me. And the guy basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said, it's clear that this guy needs to look for a girl that's also a virgin. And I was kind of taken aback by that, because I've never seen somebody provide or suggest that kind of solution to a guy in my shoes. Typically, when you're talking about adult virgin men in the modern era, if we ever say anything about wanting to date a girl who's also a virgin, typically we're going to get shamed. And I've seen this discussion many times on 4chan and various other places. And anytime you have a guy saying that I want a girl who's a virgin, most of the time people are just they're gonna shit on him for that. And to be fair, I think that part of it has to do with the fact that it's just not a very reasonable thing to look for nowadays, because most women that you run into are not going to be adult virgins. It's so much easier for women to lose their virginity than men that it's gonna be hard to find. I would wager most women probably lose their virginity anywhere between like 14 and 17, somewhere around there. Because you got to think, women don't deal with the same setbacks and problems that men do that keep us from having sex for extended periods of time. Once they hit puberty and if they want it, they can get it. And for guys, we're not really in that position. Sometimes it's due to a lack of physical attractiveness. Sometimes it's due to a lack of confidence, a lack of game and knowing how to talk to girls and shit like that. So it's easy, much easier for guys to miss out on ever having sex during their formative years than it is for women. And so it's gonna be a lot harder to date if that's something that you're really clinging to as a must-have for the girl. Like, she must be a virgin. It's just gonna be difficult. So I think a lot of the shaming comes from like that perspective, and it's not even an unreasonable perspective. Because I think when people say that, they're just being realistic. It's hard to find women who are adult virgins, because most women are going to start having sex when they want to. But also, I noticed that a lot of the shaming will be like the accusation that, oh, you only want a virgin girl because you're insecure about not being able to fuck. And I can only speak for myself. I'm not saying that's not a thing, but as far as myself, I definitely don't think that's the case. And you guys know, I've always said this, and I've gotten a lot of shit for this too. I've always said I would tell a girl straight up that I'm a virgin. Like, yeah, I'm a virgin. I don't know how to fuck. I never fuck. Right. And so what I'm saying is like, I know I can't fuck. I accept I can't fuck. Like, it's not something I feel bad about. You know, any girl that I meet, I would let her know straight up, you know, because I expect to be shit in bed my first time. So that's not really a concern either, because, you know, I'm going to go out of my way to let her know I can't fuck. Can you help me? Oh, man. But seriously, it got me thinking. It got me thinking, you know, is that something that I should really prioritize? Because I think that I never really gave it much thought, because it's not something I ever really felt strongly about it. And when I took time to really think about it, I had to ask myself, you know, if I could choose, would I choose a virgin over a non-virgin? And I mean, clearly I would. But then you got to ask, like, why? You know, what is it about a girl being a virgin that makes them more attractive than girls who aren't? And of course, this is a debated topic. You know, some guys, like I've always kind of watched this debate without really processing it personally, because again, my stance is more so in the middle. But when I really took time to think about it, like deeply, I started to kind of really understand why guys feel that way. And I remember there was this guy on R9K that was talking about this, and I wish I would have saved the post, because he laid it out so perfectly, bro. Like, why a girl being a virgin is so attractive. But basically, he was explaining the almost sacrificial aspect of relationships between men and women. And he was explaining how, as men, like, everybody knows that in a traditional sense, men are expected to be protectors, providers, and leaders within the family. Like, and that's a big sacrifice. That's an important role that can be very costly. I mean, really think about what you're investing as a man when you accept, I'm gonna be the traditional man, husband, boyfriend. You're literally putting yourself in a position where you're supposed to take a bullet for this woman. If somebody breaks into the house, you're supposed to be the linebacker for her and stand in the way of any danger. If something happens out in the streets where somebody disrespects her, you have to stand up for her. You know, and of course, when it comes to the money aspect, that has changed drastically over the years because of women being able to work too. But still, women still expect men to make more money than them, and to still, whatever extent that they can, fit into that provider role. Like, these are not small expectations. And so when you look at it, okay, what sacrifice does the woman make to justify getting all that? Again, I'm supposed to take bullets for you. And of course, the obvious things are, you know, cleaning, taking care of the kids and whatnot, things like that. But I think virginity was a big aspect of sacrifice for a woman that kind of balanced what the man was providing. Because if you think about it, look at women in the modern era. Look at how much women benefit from monetizing their bodies, monetizing their sexuality, either through OnlyFans, either through just getting on Twitch and showing off their cleavage a bit, you know, doing little ASMR videos on YouTube, selling pictures of various body parts, and escorting, pornography, general attention whoring. Like, women can make so much money just off the value of their sexuality. And when you think about it, for a woman to remain not only a virgin, but to not take full advantage of all these different money-making opportunities that can result from her being willing to monetize that sexuality, that's a big sacrifice. A woman saying, I'm going to keep my virginity and no other man is going to have access to me but you, that's probably one of the biggest aspects of the woman's sacrifice that would justify the man putting himself between bullets for her. If you really think about it, it balances out. It made sense because both parties made significant sacrifices to justify the investment, the extreme investment of the other. And we don't really have that anymore from the woman's side of things. I'm not saying that women don't still provide things in relationships, but I think people really undermine the value of female virginity and really what it meant symbolically. And not only that, but you also have things like assured paternity, knowing that any child that comes out of her is yours. But I think it's also a status thing too. You guys remember, and this is a perfect example. I believe it was Logan Paul. He started dating this young woman who, from what I understand, she's been with quite a few men within the celebrity circles. And a lot of guys have been making fun of Logan Paul for basically doing what they would call wifing a hoe. I'm not saying it's what she is, but that's the criticism that he's been getting. And so this is the status aspect of it, right? Where you're with a woman and you're claiming her as your wife and you're taking care of her, you're a protector, you're a provider, but there are other men out there that are like, man, I had my dick down her throat. You paying for this chick, man. I'll skeet it down her throat and toss her to the side. Man, I bust on her face. She was tossing my salad. Like, for other men to be able to look at the woman that you have to protect and provide and to say that they basically, used her as a cum rag and discarded her, that's very disrespectful. And it's like most guys aren't going to come at you like that, but you know it in the back of your mind. You know that other men have been inside of her and have basically like just used her body as they please. And there's just a certain status to being a guy and not having to deal with that. Because you notice it happens all the time. When Kanye wifed Kim Kardashian, he got the same kind of disrespect. When Russell Wilson got with Sierra, who had 2 kids by few, same thing. And it's like the more the woman has been used by other men, the more men she's been with, and especially if you got kids, you notice that it makes you look worse as a man. Now, some people might say this aspect is more superficial, right? But for some guys, it's gonna hit you in your mental. And if you can choose to not deal with that, why would you choose not to deal with that? Why would you choose to have other men out there that can say that they use your wife, that you're supposed to take bullets for her? You're taking bullets for her, and he skeeted on her face and threw her on to the side. Come on, bro. But I digress. So you guys know, I always do my 5 minutes of research because I wanted to go a little bit deeper into this topic. And so I found this article here that says it says the importance of virginity in the Middle Ages. I had to go back because we had to go way back because girls loosen up a lot over the past 100 years. But let's get into this article. So it says Female virginity was of utmost importance in the Middle Ages. If a bride went to her marriage bed having already engaged in illicit intercourse with anyone but her husband, she would be considered as a whore and would likely be treated as an outcast by her family and friends. But why was this? What was the law on so-called false virgins, and to what extent would women go to restore it? So it says, throughout history and even in many cultures today, a bride was expected to go to her wedding bed as a virgin. It was believed that once she had engaged in intercourse with a man, she automatically became his property. It seems outdated now, but in the Middle Ages, this view was widely accepted. A woman's life was denied by men until her wedding day. A young woman was the property of her father. Hence the tradition of fathers walking their daughters down the aisle to give her away. Upon her marriage to a man, she automatically became his to command. Therefore, when a new bride was discovered to have already engaged in intercourse with another man before her marriage, it caused a huge legal headache. If a groom discovered that his bride had already been deflowered before their wedding night, he was legally allowed to call the wedding guests into the bedchamber and rip open his wife's dress to expose her lower body. The bride would then be forced to admit that she had already had a sexual relationship with another man, and her husband would be entitled to compensation. This practice, which was completely legal, was known as the law of the false virgin. But how would a groom possibly know that his bride's virginity had already been taken? A woman may admit to her husband that she was no longer a virgin, or another person may have informed the groom. It was also typically believed that if a woman did not bleed during her first experience of intercourse, or that her hymen was missing, then she was lying about her virginity and therefore guilty of premarital intercourse. That's why guys would say no hymen, no diamond. Of course, not every woman did bleed during intercourse, and many did not even have a hymen in the first place. These women were not necessarily guilty, and many may have just been born that way, but in the minds of medieval men, it was worthy enough of legal intervention. Unfortunately, this meant that for many innocent medieval women, they faced unfair judgment from their husbands. So recipes were written up for the new bride to ensure that she would pass the virginity test. And as you could possibly imagine, they were utterly horrific. So, all right, we got enough. We got the picture there. But this kind of shows you how important it was. Now, you guys know I'm not some anti-feminist guy. That's never been my bag. I'm just illustrating like what the facts are. And I think that with female empowerment, gave them the ability to kind of live life closer to just how they want to do it. Again, it's no longer the father passing the daughter off to the man and now she's his that's dead, But I think in the process of that, while I can feel good about women being free to live their life as they please, I think unfortunately what was lost is like the significance of the woman's virginity and what's so attractive and just almost inspiring about that. Because just look at what men say now sometimes. Excuse me. She's not yours, it's just your turn. Like that's the mentality men are adopting now, just so they don't get taken advantage of and finessed by women, because we are no longer in position to really own a woman. Not saying that we should, but because we don't really have any kind of insurance or security in regards to the women that we're with. Again, we get with women who've already been like turned out by other men and all the, and then she, like what's to stop her from just going from guy 1, 2, 3, 4 you to 6, 7, 8, right? And that's why guys have this mentality. And I think again, what's lost through the devaluation of virginity is that motivation, that commitment, that inspiration for men to say, yes, I'm the protector, provider, Superman, and I'm gonna I love this bitch with all my heart. I think now men are just more afraid to really invest their all into the women that they meet, because relationships have become much more fickle. And I think women no longer valuing their virginity is kind of a symptom of that. Yeah, let's check out this article here. So it says re-examining the link between premarital sex and divorce. So it says abstract. Premarital sex predicts divorce, but we do not know why. Scholars have attributed their relationship to factors such as differences in beliefs and values, but these explanations have not been tested. It is further unclear how this relationship changes by number of sexual partners or differs by gender. We re-examine this relationship with event history models using data from the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent to Adult Health. Models include measures of adolescent beliefs and values, religious background, and personal characteristics, as well as approximate number of premarital sexual partners in young adulthood. We find the relationship between premarital sex and divorce is highly significant and robust even when accounting for early life factors. Compared to people with no premarital partners other than eventual spouses, those with 9 or more partners exhibit the highest divorce risk, followed by those with 1 to 8 partners. There is no evidence of gender differences. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into this because this is kind of known. We've all kind of known this. But basically what the article is about is how it seems to be that in marriages where the women are virgins, they are less likely to get divorced as opposed to women who are not virgins. And then the likelihood of divorce seems to increase as the number of sexual partners increases. Now, the reasoning for that could, now, depending on who you ask, because some people might say that, okay, well, any woman that gets married as a virgin is probably deeply religious. And oftentimes, just being that religious and being, in a deeply religious environment, that can contribute to being less likely to get a divorce. I've seen a lot of guys say that a woman being with a lot of men destroys their ability to even pair bond. Now, I don't know how true that particular aspect is, but I can only assume that if that is the case, it probably works like, you do something enough times that you become desensitized to it. And so you have women who have been with so many different guys who have either traumatized them, left an imprint on them, or just they've done so much and done too much that when they settle down into marriage, maybe they get bored. Maybe it's not as exciting as being with all those other guys, and then that leads to unhappiness. Again, I don't know. I can only assume. But if you ever needed a reason to justify wanting to go for a virgin, then here you go. But still, even with all that being said, I don't really expect to find an adult virgin. And it's also an issue of compatibility too. Because I've said this before, and it's that what was it? Something like bad women are no good, but good women cost too much. Right? And I think that, look, if you find a girl that is a virgin, she's probably going to want to get married or something like that. And I'm just a virgin. I'm just a virgin by wizardry, by being a nerd, by being a porn addict, whatever my issue is. Like, I'm not a religious virgin waiting to get married. So, I probably wouldn't even be compatible with the kind of girl that's more likely to be an adult virgin. So, again, I'm not really dead set on like finding a virgin. If it happens, cool. But having thought about it, I definitely do think that it is more attractive. It is more attractive for a girl to be a virgin, because a girl having been used by other men. I hate to say it like that, but damn, a girl having been with other men, it doesn't really do anything for her as far as making her more attractive. I think if I had to describe it, if girls have an ick, then I would say that, yeah, knowing that your girl has been with other guys is an ick factor. It just is unattractive, you know. But again, it's not something that it's not something that I think is like an absolute deal breaker. But it is a bonus. I'll put it like that. In the end, I would say a girl being a virgin, it would be a bonus. But a girl not being a virgin isn't a deal breaker either. But I would love to hear you guys' perspective on this. Do you like virgins? Would you want to have a virgin? Let me know in the comment section below. And I will see you guys later. Johnny.